Unnumbered.
Yeah.
No, the I think it was the 100th episode, Big Damn Anniversary episode, that never aired. But that was because of a technical problem. Like YouTube ate my video.
Yeah. Still processing, though.
It's still processing. It's there. You just can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So I think we lost episode 100.
300
I don't
didn't
think
work for me.
There's definitely been a couple
That's
episodes
probably
that
my
didn't.
podcatcher.
Well, there's a couple
That one's
episodes that
probably
didn't
my podcatcher.
podcast properly, and there's been a couple that didn't post to the website correctly that I've had to go back and like manually add, or they're on my list of things to do someday. Like the Ted Kaczynski episodes didn't auto post, so they're on YouTube, but
which is kind of appropriate.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm even gonna fix them. They're just like, it's on my to-do list someday, but like I might just leave it because it's kind of funny, and like you can still get them. It's just not on the website. But
that's fair.
Anyway, it's been live for a minute. I'm going to go back and trim this later. Probably. Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
Contempt. So much contempt for the audience.
I think they like our witty banter and backstage antics.
Agreed. All right. We done intros?
Hello to all you patriots out there. And God damn it, David. Once more. Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and what motherfucker.
More time for the home.
Hello to, God damn it. Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 338 Lapua of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the #1 book and long-range rifle club in Canada. We're recording on February 28th, 2022. As always, my name is Andrew. I will be steering the ship. I don't know. I was trying to come up with a long-range shooting joke, and I ran out of gas.
Turning the turret.
Exactly. Tonight, we have Gavin, Pierre, Dave, and Peter.
And we'd love to hear your feedback about the show. So please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Remember, both actions speak louder than words.
We need your help to support the Canadian Patriot Podcast. Visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Show you're not a communist. Buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
This brings us to my favorite segment. How will I be inebriated on Monday night? Let's go clockwise. We'll start with Gavin. Gavin, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking some Crown Royal and Diet Pepsi this evening.
Good stuff. Pierre?
I've got a little bit of whiskey and then cold shots.
Good man. Dave, what are you drinking?
I just cracked a fresh bottle of some finer vintage at the Signal Hill here. Delicious. It's going to be a good night.
I bet. Peter, what are you drinking?
Belgian Moon, Belgian White today.
Nice.
Stuff. Now, you made sure you got your orange. You're not going to catch the scurvy?
No, I'm good.
Good. Don't catch scurvy. It's bad for you. I have festive holiday Christmas beer. I found some Shakespeare Brewing Candy Cane Milk Stout in the beer fridge.
Digging in the back, eh?
Well, I also found a pumpkin beer, but I'm saving that for a special occasion.
Brian's here.
Maybe. Maybe. Let's talk about the Patriot Challenge. Every day, we're asking you, our listeners, or at least the CSIS agents that keep downloading the episodes, to do 5 things to be a better person. Exercise for 45 minutes. Practice a skill, like long-range shooting, for 10 minutes. Read a book about long-range shooting for 15 minutes. Drink 2 liters of water while you're out long-range shooting. And complete 1 task that will improve your life. Like being better at long-range shooting. Upcoming
Reasons that are-
events.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Upcoming events, CCFR, Range Day, June the 4th, where you can demonstrate to others your love of long-range shooting. We should remind everybody about the new Shooter Canada Rucking Challenge. It does not involve long-range shooting, but it
No,
could.
but you might have to hike to go long range shooting.
Or to
Some of
check
the new
your target.
matches. Some of the new matches, like the Hunter matches down south, are putting in rucking portions to the matches. So
Yeah.
definitely helps.
I mean, cardio is a good thing to have. Being able to carry things around is a good thing to do. So we are on week number 6 by my
Correct.
mathematics.
Yep.
So it's 105 minutes of rucking this week. And I know there's a couple of people that have fallen a little bit behind or maybe fallen off the rucking wagon, but halfway through.
Yep.
And it's not too late to still contribute. I don't think there was any stipulation you had to do it every week, although I will pick on you in the spreadsheet if you're on Discord looking at the spreadsheet.
There are definitely some holes in that spreadsheet, and it's not because I haven't been putting the data in. Looking at you, Dave. Looking
I
at you.
Hey, I had one day I missed it by a day. We had some really crappy weather. I was planning to do it Friday, and we had really crappy weather, like a foot of snow. Next day was brutal, and I was like, fuck, today's the last day. It's like 11 o'clock at night. So I did it the Sunday, and then I did the following week. So I've only did the boo-boo once.
But you did
Yeah.
it. That's the important
But you did
part.
it. And that's what counts. Do the hard work, preferably with other people.
And I mean, I'm certainly seeing it paying off. Like, you know, we did like the 90, then the 45, and then the 90 again. And like that second 90 felt like nothing compared to the first 90. So like I'm
Yeah,
already
I
seeing improvements.
I took my RCMP friend with me on the last two. That's been interesting.
It's a lot
Very
easier
nice.
for them to track you when they're with you. Yeah.
Was he on a horse trying to stomp you the whole time?
Yeah, that's what got me going faster, actually.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Yeah.
Motivation.
Yeah.
Motivation.
Did you find a gun they left behind?
He's actually one of the good ones, or better ones. But
Well, I was waiting to say he's actually one of them that lost one.
no, we spent a good amount of the hour and a half either cropping on the RCMP or the Army, depending on where we were at. It was great.
Well, that's good.
I know. I found out I'm not a fan of rocking with people.
It depends. It depends. I don't like rucking for I shouldn't say that. I like rucking for exercise with people. I don't like rucking in this way where I'm trying to get a specific amount of distance in my allotted time with other people. Because like 105 minutes, I'm going all out. I'm trying to do like 10 and a half kilometers.
Yeah.
I don't have time to talk because I'm like busy trying to like do the thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when we go for a walk in the woods with our friends and our SKSs, like that's different.
Yeah.
But we also
Yeah,
set
yeah.
a more reasonable pace because it's a social activity as much as it is a exercise.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I-
Like
I'm
the last time
not a
Gavin
fan
and I
of
went
doing
walking
it.
through the woods and we talked about vacuum cleaners.
Yeah.
It's not even a
Cute.
No, we're
right.
not-
We're very
not-
domestic.
yeah. We were
No,
adulting at
we
a
were very
superior level. Yeah.
domestic.
Getting old
Well,
is weird.
It is. It really is. They're good vacuum cleaners, though.
Oh,
and if they want
yeah.
to sponsor the show, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd name names, but sponsorship money first, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
But-
I'll take one.
But
I'm down.
if you manufacture really high-end vacuums that start with a D and you want to give the show some money or free vacuums,
Yeah.
feedback at Canadian Patriot Podcast.
Focus
But,
on getting
yeah,
some
I get
rifles
you.
sponsored first.
I mean, beggars can't be choosers, Dave. $20 is $20 after all.
Yeah, if I don't have to buy a new vacuum, that means more gun money, Dave.
I just bought a new vacuum. I'm set. I really am.
You could sell that one.
Yeah. Rucking for like this activity versus rucking with people for a social endeavor, I think is a little different. But I think most of the times that we've organized fairly large group activities, I think what we've set the pace around like 12 minutes a kilometer or so.
Yeah,
Even
but we
closer
usually
to
end up
11,
being,
honestly.
we usually, I think we sort of aim for 12, but it ends up being usually faster.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Right,
we
but
were
that's
like
not
right at
the-
11 last time.
But that's not
Right.
like the sub 10 that I'm going for on my own. Like, because I'd
No.
really like, and the end of week 4, I think I was like, I forget what the distance was, but my moving speed was like 6.7 kilometers an hour or something for the hour.
Yeah.
Wow,
I guess
that's
that means
fast.
I went 6. Well, but it wasn't a whole hour. It was like 45 minutes, right? So
Still, that's
whatever
fast.
that were.
Yeah,
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Like, because I was like,
I don't think my little
Yeah.
feeties can move that fast, no matter.
well,
how hard
because
try.
I was really trying to put some big numbers up on the board because I know that there's
Yeah.
certain other people, Chris on YouTube, for example, that I think are running with a backpack, which is not advisable, but they were. So I'm trying to keep up.
Also
so to
run
speak.
with the backpack.
The shin splints, bro. The shin splints.
Yeah.
They're bad.
Uh-huh.
Compression sleeves for your legs. I picked them up.
Or not running with your backpack also is a.
Well, apparently
Yeah.
also the new thing I bought, I don't remember what company I found it on Instagram or whatever, but it's the compression leg
Yeah.
apparatuses. You wrap them
Those
around your
things.
feet. And yeah, it just showed up today. So wife tried it
They
out
work.
and-
They
Oh.
work like a champ, man. I
yeah.
tell you.
So mother-in-law tried them and everything, and they were like, "These are awesome."
No shin splints at all after 90 minutes,
Nice.
and I get them bad.
Send me a link to these things after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tend to find socks that fall off of army trucks. It's great. It's one thing the army's
Also-
done well is their socks. I've thoroughly enjoyed every pair of
The
them.
the new sock system is pretty baller.
I love it.
See, so I'm lucky. I have enough family members that I have, I would say, about 60 green combat T-shirts, and probably a good 40 to 50 pairs of the green socks with the blue or green stitching at the top. I love those socks. I wear them all the time.
Well, I suppose we ought to do book club since that's why we're here.
Yeah. They probably don't want to hear us get all autistic about rucking again.
Or socks.
Well, I don't know if we've done an episode on socks specifically.
Purely
but
on
again,
socks? No, yeah.
Well, if we're talking about pure socks, wool is the way to go. But that's topic for a different day, I think.
Yes.
So I have the big orange book of long range shooting handbook, a beginner's guide to precision rifle shooting by Ryan Kleckner, whose YouTube videos are quite good.
Excellent. Anybody who ever asks if they haven't read the book, I'll tell them to go watch that as well, or start there and then get the book.
Well, and the book is good. The book is a little bit dense, but not in a bad way. It builds nicely. If you read
Absolutely.
it start to back, being a brand new person, there is definitely terms that you are not going to understand right off the bat, but they do get explained. And not knowing them off the bat, like the first time something is talked about, does not hinder your comprehension. Very well written, I think. So why don't we get into the beginning? We'll start at the beginning. The very first word, the very first chapter. Firearm safety is paramount. The fact that I included this section before others would be a testament to my belief of its importance. I wrote this book because I enjoy passing along the information I have learned, and I enjoy seeing people fall in love with shooting like I have. I want you to be able to take the information in this book and apply it out on the range, but I only want you to do it if you are safe. If you are not safe with firearms and choose to disregard this chapter, please pass this book along to someone else. I want to grow a community of responsible shooters. Just as there are many techniques and theories to shooting, there are also many versions of the rules for firearm safety. While I do not believe that any of the published rules by other entities are bad, I do believe that they are often too dense. If firearm safety is not tangible to a new shooter, then it won't be followed. My personal rules of firearm safety are heavily based on the rules of firearm safety from a legend of a firearms instructor, Colonel Jeff Cooper. There are 4 basic rules of firearm safety, which I'm not going to read because you should all know them if you have guns. But like, this is the book, and it's good, and it's written like he's coaching you individually.
Yep.
It's very it's very conversational. I quite enjoyed reading it. So what did everybody think? How did we feel about it?
I mean, I
Absolutely.
thought there was a lot of really, really good information in this, but I found it hard to read. Like, I mean, I guess it's because, like,
I'm not gonna lie, I sped read this. Like some of the
Well, and
chapters, like what does a reticle do, or like what's
and
a
I was,
turret? Like it's like
I
I
don't need
know
to
these
read
things.
this. I know
Yeah.
it, and that was
Yeah.
my.
I'll just read a couple sentences and then move on. Like some stuff is very basic, but
So I think,
some
for-
people, and I've had them coming to my matches and to courses before. They are that new. They don't know what you're talking about. There is
Yeah.
differences in turrets,
Well,
right?
I think that's where there's some benefit to this in that, like, yeah, if you're totally green and never done this, like, and you're like, I just got my license yesterday and I want to shoot long range, this would be a great starting point. And for
Mhm.
those people that are sort of somewhere along that journey, it's maybe more of like a desk reference book that you can kind of flip to those sections that you need some more clarity, or you need to like remind yourself of something. But I had a hard time reading it from start to finish, just because there was a lot of like, I don't need to read 20 pages about this.
Like there's some sections that I found really good and like was a good refresher, like spin drift. Like I've never really been taught what spin drift is. I just know that it affects the bullet. It does certain things at certain distances, but never really went into the how or why. And he actually, and that's the biggest thing about this book from start to finish, is he puts a good layman's terms on almost all of these difficult things to understand when you talk about them, and they seem like kind of Greek when you're first getting into long range shooting, like spin drift, Coriolis effect, these sorts of things. But as you get through the book, it, like you said, it builds on
Yeah.
itself, and each thing makes sense, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's good.
I like how he would emphasize throughout the book, here are some things that do have an effect, like Coriolis effect, things like that, or what he said, it might be a difference of a mil, or at 1,000 yards, that's whatever it is, 6 feet, or depending on up or down, side to side, whatever it is. But he said, if you're within that, it's probably not an issue, because you're not going to be as accurate as that bit of information that you may or may not use until you're extremely proficient.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I like about long range shooting, is that like it is definitely a science in that it is weaponized math, but there is still some art to it, because like, yeah, you can put all the data in and compute all the things and do it all perfectly and still not be on target, because there is some factor that you can't possibly see. Like, I mean, even though you guys have seen it when you're shooting on the military ranges and they've got flags every 100 yards, and some are going one way and then the next one up is going the other way, and then the one after that is going back the other way, and you're like, how do
Well, and if you refer to page 202, he tells you how to, not really, but like kind of deal with.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, he explains it again. He explains it when he goes over ballistics. Like he has a section over ballistics and bullet flight path and what ballistic coefficients, and the further the bullet's gone.
I like how he kind of crapped on the ballistic coefficient marketing stuff, because he's like,
oh yeah,
manufacturers will tell you what the ballistic coefficient is, but they are all untrustworthy.
yeah. Go on your dope. Go on data.
Well, and he mentions if you really want to like tickle your brain about ballistic coefficients, you should look into this guy named Brian Litz.
Yeah,
he's like, that guy's an expert in this, and it's like, buddy, you're like a lawyer who specializes in firearms stuff, and you have a 300-page book about ballistics, and you're like, you should go read about this other guy who's an expert. And it's like,
he wrote 1,000 pages.
Amount of, right, but that's what I mean. Like, there's a certain amount of like humbleness to that like he's like, yeah, I have a target audience for this book, and it's not that group of people, but like, here's a guy where you can go and get more information if you want.
Yeah, like and me, like I haven't done long range shooting yet. It's been something I've wanted to get into, and I came across his videos prior to the book that we were talking about, the YouTube things, fantastic. And I was like, started looking more into it, and I got the book and I read it, and I just like how, everybody thinks you need to go out, you need to buy, $8,000-9,000 worth of equipment to get into this. And I like how his videos and his book kind of keeps it simple, right? Like, go out, if it's a new gun, sight it at 100 yards, and then, to build your dope, you can put all the math in, figure out your altitude and the perfect barometric pressure to put anything in. But he kind of gives a bunch of reference charts at the back of the book where it's like, if you're shooting a 308 at 600 yards with this grain, he's like, give or take, you need to go up 15 clicks, and he's like, and then just shoot at the target. He's like, and if you're off by a little bit, he's like, make those adjustments. And he does just keep it very simple, as into layman's terms, to be like, go out and try it out and realize that, yes, there is science to perfecting it, but to hit a, let's say 20-inch by 20-inch square at 500 yards is probably not as complicated as some people may interpret.
No,
Yeah.
and it's all fundamentals, right? That's the
Well,
the
that's
idea. I do want to go back to a thing that Gavin just touched on. I'm going to go before we go past it and I forget, because the putting in the weaponized math, putting in all the stuff into the ballistic calculator and solving the problem, putting in the atmospherics and the wind and the distance and all of those things, and then when it doesn't work and you get mad and you go back and you redo the math rather than just trying to shoot again.
just because there's so much that you just can't predict. Like, there's no way. And like, okay, if you get really good at reading wind, you can pick up on little things and be like, okay, so I'm starting to feel a little bit of the wind on my face, which means it's roughly 5 miles an hour. It's going this way. I'm looking at the grass near me and seeing how it moves, and I'm looking out 100 yards and seeing how it moves there, and I'm building this picture of how the wind is moving across the distance. But if you're in a spot where there are no indicators, like it's just 1,000-yard piece of concrete with nothing, how do you, like, you can't. There's nothing to really see there. So you just got to try it. And that's why, like, part of what bugged me about the book was because, like, it's hard to read about some of this stuff because some of it you just have to go out and do it.
Which, well, that's one of the things that I like about the way that this book is written, and maybe it's a sort of the opposite side of that coin. Because he's like, if you don't like this, like, go out and try it my way, and if you don't like it, then, like, don't do it.
Yeah.
Go and try this and see if it suits you.
Like I said from the beginning, it's like if you were completely green to long distance shooting and you read this book, you would not be doing it wrong or look like a fool when you showed up to the range and started doing any of the techniques that he talks about in this book.
It's, like I said, and for those that are more experienced, it's an excellent, like, desk reference to go back to clarify something.
The next time somebody asks me how to deal with a problem, I'm just going to take a picture of the page and text it to them.
He says keep it. He recommends right in the book. Keep this in your pack as a reference guide. It really is. And we kind of didn't really go over it, but just to put a little backstory to who Mr. Kleckner is, he is a ranger. He was a sniper in the Rangers, and then also as a representative of the NSSA down in the States, among other things. Now, pretty popular YouTuber. So
he's
also a lawyer.
Yeah, so he's got some background in long range shooting, and like he says in the book, more of a tactical and practical type long distance shooting, not so much F class where you're getting a little bit more autistic than what I think this book is targeted at.
I do feel like he might have been picking on the bench rush shooters a little bit, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Admittedly, I don't. He knows this book is not for those people, and they can carry on.
They seem to do everything differently, right? Like most people that are into long range shooting, like first focal plane, they're all about that second focal plane. Their zero is going to be not at 100 yards, it's going to be at whatever they're shooting at, and all of the thing, which makes sense because they're catering to the sport that they are competing in, not necessarily shooting long distance in general. It's very specific.
You're always going to shoot 400 yards. Why would your zero not be 400 yards?
Well, exactly, and that was so
Right?
one of
Like,
the biggest
yeah.
things. Like when I go down to Utah and I do this stuff, the guy Jeff there is very adamant that your zero should be 100 yards, right? And there's a couple of guys that will show up and they shoot F class or something like that, and they have their rifle that's zeroed at 300 because that's the distance that they shoot it at.
Yeah, it's always started at 300 when you start F class.
Right, like that's like I shoot like that's the longest that my range goes to or whatever it is, and that's the distance that I shoot it at, so I have it zeroed at 300. And he's just like, all right, give me a minute, let me like work that back and then work it forward to give you what your corrections are for 1,000.
The math is a lot easier when you're zeroed at 100. Like I know me and my buddies have had the arguments back and forth between 100 or 200 when, you know, getting our hunting guns ready for the season.
Well, and so I think, I mean, he sort of covers that. So there's a difference between setting your zero for long distance target shooting where you might be shooting at various distances, and zeroing a hunting rifle where you want to point it at the animal and you may not have time and pull the trigger and have it be reasonably accurate and hit that vital area.
Yeah.
Like,
And again,
if
it
it's
matters
off-
what province you're in too. Like you said 200 yards for your hunting rifle. In Ontario, that'd be absolutely fucking ridiculous. Like you'll never shoot past 100 yards because there's just so much trees and foliage and forest in Ontario. Whereas you start getting
but if you had
Manitoba and
100
West.
Manitoba.
Manitoba, it's you see your
You
dog.
can watch your
running away
dog
for
run
3
away
days.
for the better part
Yeah.
of a week.
No, but I mean,
That's
it's more in the
Saskatchewan.
like,
That's just like 3 years.
if you have, like a 50-yard zero, which then means that, at whatever distance you're going to be maybe a little high, little low, or whatever it's going to be, it's still going to be a kill shot. That's what you're trying to do with your hunting rifle, which is it's a different game, right? Like you're
Mhm.
you're just
Absolutely.
gaming it in a different way.
Regardless of which way it is, I think like the important thing is you know what it is and you have it written down, preferably on the rifle so that you don't forget, and that it's in your notebook in a way that makes sense to you so that you can use that information in the future. Because it's not necessarily, I think, one is wrong or better or whatnot, and maybe like better in certain circumstances.
Yeah.
But as long as you know what it is, and as long as you know how to use it, and if you're working with someone else, which you should be, as long as you can communicate effectively to them, it's like the clicks example. It was a great explanation of that. Is your scope in minutes, quarter minutes, 8 minutes, mils, tenths of a mil, and is your adjustment on your turret the same as the adjustment on the reticle? And is that a common language that you and your spotter both speak?
Mhm.
So because like the difference between an 1/8 MOA and a 1/10 mil, like that, this is enough that if you say come up one click, like those mean different. Those are significantly different measurements.
Yeah, the
Sure.
language that you're using between you, and especially if you're shooting with somebody else, is super important, that you're all on the same page, and like you don't accidentally say like 1 minute or 1 mil when you mean a click. You've got to be, because those things may not be the same, and it makes a big difference, especially at longer ranges.
One click and 1 mil on my rifle would be enough to be like completely off the paper.
Yeah.
The one thing
Yeah.
that he was talking about in the book where he was talking about calling your shot.
This is a
And,
complicated topic.
It is, but also
Yes.
it's very crucial. I think any shooter worth their salt usually starts getting pretty good at this if they've been doing even shooting with pistols, rifles or whatever. They know when they jerked the trigger, ganked it, and the sight picture moved, jostled at the last minute, and it didn't feel good. The biggest thing I found with this though is especially when you have a spotter that they can see where the shot goes and they just see a bad shot go off and the shooter says nothing. I think a great line that started using, I can't remember where I picked it up, but I know I've been using it with you, Andrew, and with Gavin as well, is how did that feel?
That's
like-
that's my buddy Jeff.
I
That was
yeah,
his-
know
how
where
did that
Gavin
feel?
got that. I know
Yeah.
where Gavin got that.
Yeah.
That is from a very, very smart man in Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it every single
It's-
time you think about you ask that to yourself if you're by yourself, or you're hopefully your
Yeah.
friend is asking you that, and then you can think about what did I do wrong there, and you got to go to another
and
excellent
that's-
shooter that you got to go through basically a set of steps every time you're going to get on that gun and pull the trigger, and you got to keep that steps the same, so then that way you can break down where you went wrong.
It's as consistent as possible. Yeah, no, just to reinforce that, like, how did that feel thing. So like at first when he started doing that to me, it was driving me crazy. I'm like, I don't know, but I mean, I was still new to this whole thing, right? Like, I'm like, everything felt fucking fine. Why didn't I hit the thing? But he's like, slow it down. Like,
That
Thank
that
you.
is
Like,
probably my biggest
Think.
like worst complaint about this is at a match with Dave and I, because Dave and I shot PR as a pair, so we've shot the Ontario Rifle Association precision rifle stuff as a 2-man team, and the absolute worst thing on the range for me is when Dave is spotting and he makes a good wind call, and I'm a good boy and I do as I'm told and I pull the trigger, and it's a clear fucking miss for some reason, and we don't know what I've done wrong.
yeah.
And it drives me up because, like, if I feel it and I know it was a shit shot, and I know it was something I did that was wrong, or it was the timing, or like we saw the wind change on like because we've had that on like particularly bad
all
wind
of a
days
sudden it just
where
gusts
like
and-
the wind gusts or it dies.
Literally dies or flops the other way.
Yeah, like, and that happens. But when you see the wind do it, like, well, okay, fine, it was the wind, right? Or like when like I screwed up and jerked the trigger and it was me, and I know it was me. But like the worst is like it felt good, it looked good, and then the target indicator comes up and they're like, yeah, it's a 2. It's like,
Yeah, but I think that's part of the thing is that like every time you do this, you have to do that mental, how did that feel, so that you get better at doing that, because it's important. Because like if it feels like you jerked it left, but it went way right, so what the spotter is seeing and what you're seeing aren't matching up, that's the problem. If you're like,
well, and that's the other
okay,
thing.
I think it felt like I jerked it left and it went left. It's like, okay, let's try the exact same thing again and see what happens. Rather than like, because then you start, it's like when you're chasing your zero, except that like you're chasing the target, and it's like,
You're chasing a ghost.
My correction was right, but I fucked it up and I didn't feel it. And now we're overcorrecting to try to get where we need to be. And now, because it was a one-time thing that I like, flinched or whatever, now everything is screwed up, and like you just get frustrated at that point, like, right?
We've had that, or at least like Dave and I have had that happen. I've had that happen a lot of times on the range. You're like, it'll be like a clear miss, or it'll be like way off in the 2 or something, and you call a correction, or you decide to make a correction, and it ends up being overcompensating, and you miss just as badly the other way.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's just minimizing that happening as much as possible.
Well, that's why you
just got to
those consistencies,
put rounds
right?
down range.
Build your consistency, like really concentrate on making everything exactly the same, and like slow everything down to painstakingly slow, especially at the beginning, so that you can feel everything, build those sort of muscle memory things going, and like really analyze it mentally, what everything felt like, and see what happens. And then you have a better picture, so that later on you got those, ability to better verbalize to your partner what it felt like, because you don't always see it, especially if you're shooting larger caliber guns. They recoil, and like you don't see your sight picture after that. You're like,
The word I was looking for is order of operations. When you're getting on your gun, you're getting from the second you stand behind your gun to when you get down on your knees, laying down behind it and putting your hand on it. It needs to be the same every time, and then that way, like you said, you can try and think of, okay, what did I do differently this time that I'm not supposed to be doing? Usually it's you gank the trigger.
Well, then like one of the things, like, I mean, you can't really do it in competition because you're on the clock, but like when you're just doing this for fun and you're learning and you've got all the time in the world, get off from behind the gun, shake it off, walk it off,
rest your eyes,
take a breath, drink some water, like do all the things, reset your brain so that you're not stressed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
biggest-
So we should go back to that, but go ahead. I want to put a pin in that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, honestly, the most times that I've been under competition or on the range and I've made a mistake is almost always attributed to not drinking enough water or not being properly hydrated.
So drink
getting
your
off
2
the gun-
liters of water.
Yeah, get off the gun, like you said, take some water, take some Gatorade, take a
Yeah.
deep breath, and then get back on the gun. You won't believe how much it affects your mental focus. Just being a little dehydrated. It can, like the simple things. I turned my windage knob the wrong way. I wanted to put 2/10 on of left wind, and I put 2/10 on right wind. And it's not till after all your shots all of a sudden just landed on the left side when you wanted it to go, when you're trying to
Yeah.
compensate the opposite way, and then you see all the indicators in the wrong spot, and you're like, and then you look at the gun, it's like, fuck. And it's just it's like, what did I not do this time that I've been doing all the way back to this point? I've been drinking water every time before I got on the gun. I didn't do it this time. Simple things like that.
So there's a couple of things that the collector keeps calling out through the book, and he has the little annotations. There's like a little call out field embedded in the paragraphs. Minimizing inaccuracy keeps coming up through the book. So that repeatability, having the gun set up the same way all the time, every time, having all of the equipment the same way, and some of the, like a lot of that is mechanical, like
good gear,
free floating a barrel, and having a good trigger, and how to rest the gun on a rest, and all of the things that result in taking all of the mechanical inaccuracy out of the equation, but also as Gavin has repeatedly mentioned, which is what made me think of it, the consistency. Consistency is key. Doing it the same way all the time, every time, so that you know when something went wrong, it was actually something that went wrong. It wasn't just because you're like doing it differently again.
Yeah, because I mean, it's possible that, like, you have bad ammo, like this one round wasn't loaded properly, right? Or there was some deformity that you didn't see on the projectile, so it got all weird. Or, if you shoot a lot and your barrel gets warm and too warm, it's going to start doing things as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and out of the equation, you're probably the most inaccurate.
You are the problem. You are the problem.
Like, you are the inaccurate.
Absolutely.
If you were to bolt that gun so that it cannot move, it'll 90%, if not most, they're all tack drivers. The second you put someone behind it, they can't fucking hit the burn side at 400 yards, depending on the person, right? So like
most bolt action guns these days from the factory, even in a shitty stock, if you bolted them to the table, should be able to shoot you'll get about an MOA. With good ammo.
That's this part is key, and he goes into a bunch about ammunition selection and bullet selection, and a lot of this being that it is really, I think that's sort of what this part of our conversation is all building to. It is really more you as a shooter than the equipment that matters in the accuracy department here. So as long as you have a reasonably accurate firearm with reasonably consistent ammunition, it will perform well.
Reasonably well.
Yep.
Right? And if you give someone who is very good at shooting a crappy gun, they will still do reasonably well with it. If you give someone who is terrible at shooting a really fantastic gun, they're still going to be really terrible at shooting.
Yeah.
And it goes back to, again, like you said, whether it's you or the gun, you can, with a certain amount of money and, a certain amount of know-how, you can pretty much always make the gun consistent, but you are the one that needs to be consistent.
I mean, my long range gun has sort of started out as, I mean, certainly not like a super low budget build. I mean, it was like $1,000 gun, but like it was in a shitty plastic Savage AccuStock with a like Caldwell, Harris style bipod on it, and I had decent glass on it. I started off with a Viper,
ST
PTS or whatever, like the Gen 1. And I mean, I was using American Eagle because that's what I could afford at the time. And, I took that out to 1,300 consistently. So like,
this is your 338.
Yeah. I mean, I had a bit of an advantage because like 338, it moves. but like,
Yeah.
it was not a super high-end gun. You
No,
know,
and
not
I don't
super
think it
high-end
is,
glass,
as long
and
as
like,
it is
gotten better.
consistent.
but yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, but you did
Yeah,
you
For the most
followed
part, the
his rule
gun's
of
still
thumb
gonna be
too,
more
though, right?
consistent than you,
yeah.
right?
But I mean, that was it. Like, it was me that was less accurate than the gun, even though it's not a super high-end gun with good like match ammo, right? Like,
Yeah.
but I was still able
Well-
to do that because I focused on all of the things that I was being told to do as I was laying down behind that. And I mean, I got ridiculed mercilessly the first time I laid down behind that gun because I did it completely wrong.
No, you just did it differently than everyone who's good at it.
Yeah.
Get his legs crossed.
But his
I mean, I don't know.
did
maybe-
that thing with like
you,
put my feet up in the air behind me, crossed at the ankles.
you spend enough time at the range and you see all kinds of unique and interesting ideas that people have or have seen on the internet.
I have
But
to say
I mean,
though,
really, go ahead,
his-
Dave.
I was gonna say his section on gear is it's good. It's
That's
all good
good.
advice. It's all
That's
good
good.
advice, you know. Like
Yeah.
the big one that I always like to preach that he stated as well when it comes to scopes. You should be spending almost as much as you should be spending as much on the scope as you do the gun, if not more. If you have a good piece of glass on a really high end piece of glass on a decent rifle, it's going to do you a lot better than a really high end rifle with a shitty piece of glass. Any day of the week.
It's a systematized problem too, right? If you have a $2,000 scope and a $2,000 rifle and a $20 set of rings,
Mhm.
great. You got a couple of really great pieces that don't work together,
Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
held together properly.
right? So like
Absolutely.
there is certainly diminishing returns on the high end of is a
Yeah.
$4,000 optic better than a $2,000 optic? Sure, but how much better?
Yeah, I would say, and like you said, that the $2,000 mark, I'd say, is about that point where once you get above that, it's really like you
It just
don't need
becomes
to go
diminishing
there.
returns.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to take advantage of that stuff till you put several thousand rounds of down range and learn how to
Now,
shoot. and-
even if you do put the time and the effort into getting that,
Yeah.
when you start getting into expensive boutique items like that, thousands of dollars worth of glass, custom actions thing, like you start to get to a point of diminishing returns where how much of that is that you're paying for the branding or the uniqueness of it, or okay, it's better, but like, is it an order of magnitude better or is it just a little bit better?
yeah, well,
Right, 'cause, like, if you go from, like,
right,
A $100 scope to $1,000 scope, yeah, it's going to be 10 times better. If you go from a $1,000 scope to a $2,000 scope, is it going to be twice as good? Probably not.
no,
But I
probably
mean,
not.
yeah,
that
like,
much.
so what's your accuracy going to increase by? Like
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about. I was going to
a
say, like,
50th of a tenth of a
talking-
mil? Like, it's like
Yeah,
a C hair?
when you start getting down to a third of an MOA, your gun can hold, under a half minute. You should just focus on practicing more, and your gear is, we'll call it
Well,
good.
I mean,
like very good.
I don't know,
You should be fine.
I'm not sure if I was really smart or really dumb when I started to get into long range shooting, because I saw what
Both?
the ORA was doing. And maybe it was both. And I went out and I was like, I like Remington 700s. Those look cool. I'm going to get a Remington 700. And I bought a better Remington 700 with a better stock than, like, it's not the cheap plastic one, whatever. And it worked great for a couple of years for me to learn on. And it was cheap and easy. And it was still I think when I bought it, it was still like $1,000 rifle.
And it still is. I mean, Angela was using it.
Yeah, and
You know,
Angela
and it
has
was
my old
working-
308
It
now.
was working great. Yeah. Still
Yeah,
works great.
and it's a perfectly fine rifle, but it's not particularly expensive. There's nothing particularly fancy about it. It's one of Remington's long range 700. Was like a 700 XCR or something.
Probably got the SPS tactical, like the varmint barrel.
No, it's like
Uh,
that triangular.
It's got
one.
a
Oh, is it?
Sendero barrel or
Yeah.
whatever on it. It was a little bit
okay,
better
okay.
than an SPS, but like not a lot better than an
Yeah.
SPS.
But that's
But it
kinda
was a
the-
perfectly fine rifle to learn on, and I mean, I still like shooting 308, and I still shoot a lot of 308.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of I think, long range shooting, because it's all relative to like what caliber you're shooting as to what long range is, and it's scalable, right? And you can
Well, and
start
what are
with
your opportunities for that too, right? Because like
Yeah.
Canada is really big, but there's not a lot of opportunities for me to go long range shooting here.
Not in Ontario, anyways.
yeah.
Well, not in the southern part of Ontario. You're too close to the butthole.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
further west you go, the more the opportunity opens up.
If you go to Manitoba, you can shoot into Saskatchewan. There's nothing to stop it.
Yeah.
And confirm.
So I think like there is certainly a lot of gear.
But you have to yell
selection.
out like, "Hey, take off, eh?" As you fire that
Hey,
way.
hosers, I'm hunting.
Hey,
here.
clear the range, eh?
Oh boy. No, I think definitely spending the money on the glass. I mean, a quality rifle. If you're buying a surplus, what's that 7.62 54R, the
Oh, a
garbage
Mosin?
rod. Yeah.
A
So if
Mosin?
you
Yeah.
buy if you buy a Mosin, you're gonna get Mosin results, right?
Yeah, not everyone can be White Death. Yeah,
Right. So like, if you're gonna buy a Mosin, you're gonna get Mosin results. But if you buy a reasonably well produced, reasonably modern design bolt action rifle, for $1,000 you get a lot of rifle these days.
and if
And
you
his-
go with like one of the major brands that's been around for a while, there will be aftermarket upgrades. So you don't have to go and buy the $3,000 rifle off the bat. You can turn your $1,000 rifle into the $3,000 rifle over time as you sort of
Exactly.
start to outpace your equipment because you're getting better, and now you need to upgrade the equipment to keep up with that.
Exactly.
And nothing would suck more than thinking you're gonna like this and realize you really hate lying down in the summer. and then like, you know, you go out and you spend like what, let's say, you know, a $3,000 rifle plus a $2,000 scope, you're $5,000 right there. You know, you get all kitted up, you buy all the bells and whistles and everything, and realize this is not something you're interested in. Like your return on
Yeah.
investment at that point will be horrible, right? You're gonna
Yeah.
take a $3,000 like, if you enjoy hunting, you're gonna take a $3,000 rifle and $2,000 scope to go sit and, you know, to go bushwhacking with.
Yeah, you go
No,
sit in your
but
tree
if you-
stand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
but if
maybe.
you bought one of those, you know, a
Wish I
Remington
had that kind of
700,
money, but
Yeah,
I've seen guys
You know.
take K-Dexes into the bush, but I don't know.
yeah, right. But I mean, you
I
buy
don't
a Savage, you know, even a Tika, a Remington, you know, any of those, you know, $1,000 ish, 308 whatever caliber. You know, if you figure out like, you know, it was a cool experience, but this is not for me, you can still take that bad boy hunting, no problem.
Well,
Right.
they generally don't lose their resale
Well, and I
value
think-
either, honestly.
but
Especially
I
if they
think,
got low
yeah.
round count on them. You're gonna get your
Yeah.
money back on them.
Well, yeah, guns are a great financial investment, but like, yeah, but you know, the more customized your rifle becomes, the harder it is to resell it. Whereas if it is a base model of something popular that could be used for all kinds of different stuff, yeah, your market is bigger, and you're. So I mean, I think unless you really want to like drop all kinds of big money on stuff, I would
Yeah.
definitely find one of the major brands that you like. And
Yeah, I could confirm that's pretty much how I got into this. I started with a Remington 700 SPS in a Bell and Carlson stock. I bedded it in that stock. Then I realized I'd like to get a chassis, so I put it in a chassis. One of the big things that you're going to realize, if you're just shooting by yourself, it's not a big deal. But if you plan on taking it to any kind of competition, you're going to want something that's mag fed. I'm going to say that right off the bat.
Yeah.
It's pretty much
getting
a must.
MagFed for PR, PRS, anything like that. And
uh,
it probably bears mentioning, and he talks about it a little bit in the book, but 22 is a perfectly valid long range option.
Mhm.
It's just that it becomes relative. Because shooting 300 yards with a 22 is freaking hard.
Yeah, it's like 1,000-yard shooting with a 308. I can confirm.
I mean, ballistically, it's almost identical, but
exactly.
But yeah, like how much does a box of 308 cost compared to 22?
I haven't priced 308 lately, and I'm afraid to look at what component costs are to reload right now.
Yeah.
If you can even
308
find any.
for,
I'm about
Well,
to order.
for like
I'm
your
about to order.
average run-of-the-mill ammo is about $60 a box. 50,
Yeah,
50 to
between
60
40,
bucks.
45 to 60 for match ammo, and
Yeah.
I'm about to buy 8 kilograms of premium powder. It's going to cost me $1,000.
Buddy.
Waiting
Right.
on an order from Tessero.
Yeah.
I'm still working on powder from a couple of years ago that I have in the stockpile, but
Well, I'm going to sell the
getting to the
Varget,
end
so
of it.
hopefully get around half of that back. Hopefully, selling that 8-pound of Varget, but we'll see.
Oh, we're gonna
that,
talk
that
after the
8-pound
show.
of Varget that I bought for you like a long time ago.
Yeah, like I'm still on my first 8 pounds, so I bought the second 8 pounds thinking I'd get into it, but I've already almost loaded. I've only got 100 bullets. I got less than 100 pills left, plus like some loaded already in 308, and I'll be through my 1,000 308, and I still probably have, I'd say at least a pound or two left in the original jug. So that other 8 pounds is untouched. It's a virgin Varget.
Once I take
Well.
care of some bills, Dave, maybe you and I need to talk because
Well, I don't know. I might slide into Dave's DMs before you do.
that's fair.
Well, we'll see when the other powder gets here, because if it
Dave's
doesn't
gonna
come in
start-
time,
Dave's
I'll
gonna
have
start
to,
bidding more.
yeah, I got the new. I got
No,
a new
No,
I'm going to need people to subscribe to my OnlyFans so that I can afford to give Dave $20.
20 bucks.
Yeah,
Look at right, buddy.
picked up.
Yeah, no, that's what I have in my my coyote gun.
Varget? Yeah, it's great powder.
22
Great powder.
250. I love that powder, and that works fantastic.
I would buy it off you right now, Dave, but I just picked up a case of green tips for reasons. So
Oh, I could
Attaboy.
use a case of green tips for reasons.
Oh.
PMC
Yeah, I bought a-
X-Tac?
yeah,
Yeah.
G4C.
Yeah,
Nice. Yeah.
I think I bought
Wow.
500 rounds off of them last year, so I got. I think I
I
got
could
about
probably
1,000
use
green
another
tips.
case of green tips for
Yeah,
reasons.
yeah.
Yeah, you can never really have enough green tip.
Great coyote round. Great coyote
For,
round.
for beginning
Yeah.
to long range shooting, green tips
Yeah.
is best.
Well, they're
Actually-
actually not bad.
PMC green tip is my
The PMC
my
green
go-to
tip is
ammo
actually
for
pretty
service
good ammo.
It's my
It sounds-
service
it
rifle
sounds-
go-to. It was $10 a box, before all the
Yeah.
bullshit. It was amazing.
It was cheap and easy, and it was consistent, and it was loaded hot as shit.
I
Yeah.
It
chronoed
was
it on
consistent.
my 18.6 barrel. It was 3150 out the barrel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but 3150 with like what, an SD of like 10?
Oh yeah, no, it's amazing. Like all their
Yeah.
brass is annealed. Like it's beautiful
Yeah.
ammo. It really is.
Oh yeah,
So,
I had really.
In order
really
to
good luck
understand
with
why
the,
Dave and I both are getting tight pants about this, you need to read the section on reloading and ammunition
Yeah.
selection.
Yeah.
No, the Atlanta Arms TMKs, about 72 grains. Man, those were good out of my bolt gun.
Yeah, can't go wrong with 72 grains. What are those? Those are the green tip Match Kings.
Yeah,
Like the soft tips or whatever you call them.
yeah. They're like a
Yeah.
dark green, not like the sort of lime
Yeah.
green. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, those are nice. Those
Yeah,
are
no,
really
those-
nice bullets.
Out of my MVP, man, those were making good hits when we were at that spotting class.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You were having no problems.
Oh yeah.
Anything else from Ryan's book that we should go through? I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good book. I don't know that I necessarily learned anything, but I think it has certainly given me a better way to explain some concepts that I was not as clear on as I
Yeah.
could have been.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, I mean, Dave talked about it earlier, like the whole spin drift thing. Like I knew what it was, but he goes at like, so there's a lot of stuff that's like, it's a thing that and you know that it affects your shot in this type of way, but you maybe don't have the science or the explanation to get really in depth to explain why it's doing
it's
the
happening.
thing that it's doing.
Yeah, it's
He
just, I
gives
know I
you
need to
all of
put
that
three
stuff,
three
right?
clicks of left wind on at 800 because
800 because you're
because-
shooting a 308, and that's how it
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
yeah, just because.
It sounds like my 308. 3 clicks at 800. That's right.
Yeah.
And maybe 2 before, but that big maybe at 700.
Yeah.
Depends on how the wind is that day.
Well, but then when you start like going out past that, then you start needing to take that into account, the Coriolis thing into account, because if you're facing the other direction,
Yes,
You
which
may
way are
be
you
adding
facing, and
3
is the
for
sun
spin
rising or
drift and then
falling?
taking 3
One thing I-
off because of the rotation of the Earth and all of the other weird things that start to happen the further out you go, because the thing that you're shooting at as the bullet's flying has now moved.
The one thing
But
that
so have you.
Yeah, but the bullet hasn't because it's traveling in space.
yeah, the other thing though is like even the difference between the horizontal and vertical Coriolis. And you actually don't usually need to worry about vertical Coriolis because almost every long range, especially military ranges that you go to, are set up north-south so that you don't have to worry about that. Only the horizontal Coriolis comes into effect.
Except that when you go shoot in real life,
Yeah. Then
it becomes a thing.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. I need to go to that building if you're gonna stay there. This is not the same. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I do think that is like that's probably my biggest takeaway from this book is that I have a better explanation for some things when people ask me, like spindrift, because like I could kind of explain what spindrift before, but I don't know that I was doing it justice. And now I have a great paragraph that I can reference and be like, just this, do this.
Yeah, this guy can say it better than I can, so just read this.
Well, and I think I'm going to go ahead and say professional, although I'm sure that there will be commenters that send us hate mail about that. But as a professional,
you've been paid to do it. That is the definition of professional. That's all.
And
That
taught
true.
others how to do it.
that's also true. I think that part, as somebody who is reasonably experienced with this, it's the ability to better explain it to someone else in the future was my big takeaway from the book. I don't know that I necessarily learned anything. I do want to try changing how I mount my scopes, because his method was slightly different than mine. I don't think it's big enough that it's going to make a difference, but the next time I do one, I'm going to do it his way. And we'll see how it works.
Right?
Yeah, like I said, before I even knew about this book, anytime anybody asked me, like saying they were interested in getting into it, but they didn't really know anything about it, the first thing I'd always say, he's got a 10-part series on YouTube. Just watch them all. And now it's just, either get this book and watch those, because I think the videos complement the book very well. Like when he's explaining MOA and mills, he does a very good job of drawing that out on a whiteboard in the videos on YouTube. So it's really
and I think some people being visual learners, that has an appeal.
Exactly.
That was one of the things
100%. I took more away from those videos than reading this book because I was more visual. But that's the 10-part series he has with the NNC. NSSA, the National National Shooting Sports Association. Or is it F or A?
Foundation, National Shooting Sports Foundation.
Okay, F.
That one. Yeah, no.
Pretty sure.
Mills
they have a party at SHOT Show. We've been to it.
Yeah. Took me forever to wrap my head around that whole Mills MOA thing, because it was never explained well to me. But then all of a sudden, once I got it, was like, oh, now it all makes so much more sense. Like it was just that moment where it's just like everything clicked, and it was like, oh.
And that's why some people, they ask me, they're like, are you MOA or Mills? I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'll do both.
To me now, it doesn't matter to me because I realize it's all just
it's all the same.
I could tell you in degrees too. And like the minute that someone's like put it that way, it was like, oh, so I'm just measuring an angle? They're like, yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, why didn't you say that before?
Exactly. Once you understand the concepts, and like I said, he explains the concepts very well, so that it makes sense in most people's heads.
Yeah, that's another section I'm gonna have to go back over.
Yeah, and like he said, he says in his book, go back to it, read it over again.
But it makes sense to me. It's just like to get it into my head so that it's right there for me to call up. So I have to go to it a few times and start writing stuff down a little bit. And when I'm
guns, we'll travel. I'll bring my 22 out your way. We'll go out in the bush.
Yeah.
And you'll shoot the
I'll supply the alcohol.
Yeah, he says in the book, a good dope book for taking notes is key. I recommend, like, you can get it on Amazon. Right in the Rain is great. That way, it gets wet, it won't run or anything like that. They're really handy to have. But and keep one for each gun.
Magpul has a really nice one that you can get like super autistic about and record like your distance and your elevation and like pressure and stuff like that. And it's like this whole chart that you can like It's pretty.
The one thing with dope books, and I mean, Kleckner mentions it. This is one of those topics where I think less is often more.
Yeah.
It's really easy to get dope cards and fill out like the angle of the sun and the relative humidity and the barometric pressure and all of these factors that you like. You're taking it off your
probably
Kestrel
never
little weather
used,
station that like I couldn't give it because I like metrics. People know I like metrics. Gavin has seen the spreadsheets. I have a spreadsheet for freaking everything. And I don't know how
organizes spreadsheets.
Well, you have to, because otherwise, how do you know which one you want? But
exactly,
I don't know. The first couple of dope books that I had so much information in them that was like just completely unhelpful.
Yeah,
just like completely unhelpful.
All you need is, was it sunny? What was the temperature? And what was your elevation?
Well, but so that's what I like about this one is that like it has all of that information, but it does most of it visually. So you just put the correction in the correct space on the chart. And then it's all color coded, and it's like, it's nice. So it takes all that information for people that like the metrics, but makes it easy to reference, as opposed to like all of these handwritten notes where like, it looks like I'd be in a movie doing some calculations and all those like trig formulas are going on the screen as I'm thinking. It's not complicated like that. It's just at this distance, at this barometric pressure, you write the thing in, and then this and this and this and this. But for those that don't know, dope is data on previous example, which means you have to go out and do the thing to get your dope.
Yeah.
Example or engagement?
Same difference.
Depends on if you're shooting at people or not.
Yeah. Depends if you're in Ukraine or the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the sorry, we're done with that one.
Go ahead.
I enjoyed the section on sling use. I've had a sling on my rifle for a long time, and I use it for carrying my rifle.
Yeah, that's what it's for.
That's about it.
Well, have you done a maple seed though? Like actually, Peter?
No.
A sling can serve a purpose.
Yeah, it unsupported with a sling is a sling is how you shoot unsupported. Basically, helps tighten the gun to you.
Sling is an option to shoot unsupported.
It is. Yeah, it's not a must, but it can help if done properly. It can help,
and there are different kinds of slings for different situations, which you could.
Yeah.
Is there YouTube comment from Brent? Is there a website that does reviews on guns and manufacturers?
So many,
yes.
Honestly.
There are thousands of those.
Yeah.
You could start with, if it's long range, Sniper's Hide is a good one. There's also what the pros use if you want more like PRS oriented type stuff. There's really a lot. You got to
truth about guns, gun. You
kind of got to read it all with a grain and kind of absorb all the information. See what Usually you'll see a recurring theme, and that's probably more right. But
maybe we'll even give a shout out to our friend Adriel, the hunting guy or whatever, hunting guy.
He does guy.
Yeah, he does reviews on the guns. But
so yes, there are lots of websites that do reviews on guns and manufacturers, and I trust exactly none of them. But it's certainly, this is one of those things where like more information is better. But you also get into situations where some gun companies pay influencers or people in the firearms community to say nice things about their product, or they get free T&E guns that they can keep, or other. You just like be mindful of what you're reading. Is much like all the other media. It's going to have some biases, and they may not be explicit in what those biases are.
Yeah, still probably more factual than the CBC, but only marginally.
Right. So I mean, yes, go
type hop on our Discord and start asking questions. We don't
type in the thing that you want to find, and I'm sure that somebody else has asked the question. And I mean, like, this is.
Yeah. And probably you could even type in the answer that you want to hear, and someone will have that for you as well.
You can find the question. Yeah.
Not untrue. Why is Varget the best powder? Because people will explain to you why Varget, but you can also why is Varget
you can also find people
suitable
at
all ever under any circumstances.
I'm trying to get rid of it. I'm trying to offload Varget because it's not going to work for the what I'm trying to do with the
Yeah.
the great grain of bullet that I'm using and the
Well, you know,
speeds
if
I'm
it's
trying
that
to
much of a
achieve.
hardship, I could probably come up with some cash, buddy.
Yeah.
No, I
wait
would,
for the
uh,
other stuff to come in and then we'll talk.
20
We'll talk.
bucks.
Garrett,
20
I would
bucks is
have
20
found
bucks.
tips
20
for-
bucks.
I
20
didn't
bucks.
want to.
If it's the keg of Varget that I bought you, it is only fair that it returns to me.
At the price that he originally paid for it, not the inflated price.
Are we running a course? Chris is asking a question. When are we running a course?
That's a good question. We should probably get our PR guy to do a PR course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I plan on, if we get dates this year, and I'm cautiously optimistic that we will get dates. I will definitely be doing some PR clinics this year. They might actually be
to
up at,
clarify, if Dave gets dates through the Ontario Rifle Association, Dave will run an ORA PR clinic.
But we should also run
But we might need a
something through
Ragnarok branded.
that
Ragnarok.
is
Yeah,
not making people be a member of the ORA. Not that they shouldn't
no,
be members.
it'll be open to guests
but-
this year. It'll be open to
but-
guests this year. So
but that's the thing, right? Like, so what is it for an ORA thing for a year?
it's pretty
I
cheap
don't
now.
know,
It's like
130
100.
bucks.
Yeah, 130.
I know it's
140 bucks.
not a lot, but I mean, some
No,
people may
but
have a hard
it
time.
requires you to be near the butthole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas we could run one anywhere. So if you happen to have a large farm field, feedback, Canadian Patriot podcast.
I also
have
have a
plenty.
place. I have a friend with a place as well that we can do some long range shooting. I have to talk to him.
Travel.
We need to get the course outline done. And
I think so.
and,
Dave's got some
finalized.
work to do, but I
Yeah.
think we should do some PR course. And I think
Yeah.
there are some other options for courses for rifle shooting.
Yeah.
Though it pains me greatly because of how they teach positions and because it was designed for a rifle that we don't use. Maple Seed is certainly a good option to teach the fundamentals of rifle marksmanship.
Well,
I would say check out Milken before I say go to Maple Seed. Honestly,
No,
I'm just saying, Maple Seeds are highly accessible. They're in a lot of places across the country, and
This is true.
they will teach you to shoot prone using a sling with a reasonable degree of accuracy.
Well, and so it's the key takeaway is fundamentals. How you apply those fundamentals changes when you're not shooting an M1 Garand in the 1940s and 50s or a 22 to shooting something bigger and stronger and everything else, but the fundamentals are still there. You apply them differently.
Yeah.
But just one quick thing, just in case you didn't know, Peter, because it seems that using a sling to shoot other than to carry the gun is new. They also make these weird leather bondage jackets. I'm not kidding. They do.
but yeah, there's one guy that comes to the ORA matches that's always wearing one.
There's a
We hate him
specific
a lot.
type of target shooting where they have
He's a
these weird
he's a
leather
pain in my
jackets.
ass. And
You
then
guys are
like
really
strapped
making me not want to
into-
get into this that deep.
no, that's
Strap into it
that's
so
F
that-
class stuff and just
Yeah, they
Ignore
minimize. Yeah, they
That
minimize.
is
their-
TR stuff, sir, because when I am old and decrepit and my other knee gives out, I am going to take up F class because my 60-pound rifle and I are going to get on the ATV and go and sit on the mound, and then we are going to ride to the next mound.
Yeah.
facts.
But I am never shooting TR because I am not a little crippled old man with a bondage jacket.
We'll get you
Yeah.
a golf cart. We'll make
Yeah.
a bench rest right where the windshield is.
Yeah, you say that now,
The
but at
the
some
only problem
point-
is you have to drop the suspension when you go to shoot, otherwise it'll bounce.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah. Yes, you say that now, but at some point in time, I'm sure the boy will be acting as your page to lace up your jacket and strap your arm in so that it's nice and solid.
Bro, I will do a lot of things, and I will even do more for money, but I am not shooting TR.
Yeah, I'd have to
They
kick your
don't put
ass.
optics on their rifles. What is that?
Well, no wonder they need to steady their arms with some sort of weird jacket.
Do I strike you as the kind of guy that hangs around at the leather fetish bondage club?
Hey, man,
I mean,
20 bucks is 20 bucks.
I
I
mean,
can't tell what anybody is anymore.
Yeah.
With your selection of beer, I would lean more towards yes than no.
I mean,
Especially today.
It's the
Harsh
end of fucking
but
February.
fair.
Not wrong.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
harsh but
End of
fair.
February, and you were ecstatic you found candy cane stuff.
Yeah, it's really good beer.
Point proven.
Second that.
Oh boy. Oh boy. So I don't know where we were off on that tangent before, but
Me neither.
Running classes. Yeah. Running classes.
Yeah, we
not
should run some
not
class-
bondage
Oh,
classes, shooting classes. Yeah.
right. So places to get training aside from Googling things on the internet. Check out your local provincial rifle association. Your province probably has a PRA. Most provinces do. If
Also, I'm gonna just
you can
Dave, you know that's Benny, right?
Oh, is it? Sharp 97. Oh.
That's
No,
Benny.
it didn't.
Sorry, I just had to clear that up.
Yeah, the comment section is getting out of hand.
Yeah.
Benny is commenting instead of participating.
Yeah.
Slacker.
Local
Provincial Rifle Association.
Local Provincial Rifle Association.
Yeah.
DCRA, Dominion Canada Rifle Association. Predominantly if you're in the Ottawa area, but it is a national organization and they can put you in touch with other groups that are involved in International Shooting Federation, ISF disciplines.
Right.
Maple Seed could be an option. They travel a lot. And Rick and the Canadian Rimfire Precision Series, Outlaw Rimfire Precision Series, and then their competitive 22 league, the Northern Rimfire League, NRL,
That's
NRS.
NRS. Yeah, that's separate from Rick's.
Yeah,
but
it's the
it's the
same
same-
thing, but it's not.
NRS, I would say, is like the pros, and CRPS.
Sorry, that's why I was
is
saying
kind
it was
of
like the
amateur
competitor.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe I didn't do a good job. It's the same type
But
of market.
it's-
It's a different.
league. Yeah, it's
game.
22 PRS. It's the same. It's all
Yeah.
the same.
And yes,
If you're in
Milton.
Ontario, Milcon
Yeah.
is a great place to go. Tell Keith and Linda I say hello. Ask Linda what's for lunch. If you're out west,
You can ask to see Andrew and Dave's sword.
it's true.
Yeah.
If you ask nicely, they might even let you
Nice.
take a picture with my sword.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our names are on it twice. Just
Um,
so we're clear.
If you're out west, the Rob
Yeah.
Furlong Marksmanship Academy might
Yeah.
be an option for you.
Call
Yeah,
sign
Rob-
66
Rob
is
teaches
also
a good-
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rob teaches a good course. Call sign 66 is another option out west. If you're in Western Canada, call sign 66 does some great instruction. They're also in Alberta.
Yeah.
So there
Mike
are certainly
also-
places to get involved and get some training and get some experience on this.
Also, a little more low key. He runs his stuff out of Milken. Me and Gavin went to his class last year. It was fun. Get down rounds down range, but look up Mike Brake as well. He
Yeah,
Break
he's with
Tactical.
Break Tactical.
Yeah, he offers long range instruction as well, and really nice guy. I didn't learn a whole lot, but it was a really fun day. So
No, it's always good. I mean, it's
Yeah.
one of those
You're
things
also at a
where-
level where it's the same problem that I have when I go to courses. It's like I've already done all of these things by like 10 different people.
Mhm.
I'm just looking for a new way to explain a concept that I've already had
yeah,
explained.
if you
Well,
pick up
and-
one new thing that day, it's like it was a
Well,
good
sometimes,
day,
like,
right?
I mean, it's the same thing where it's like we don't get like we're either teaching, we're not doing the thing, we're instructing, or we're shooting a match, which isn't really practicing either, right?
No,
So you sometimes need someone that is at more or less the same level, hopefully a little bit better, to watch you to make sure that you haven't picked up bad habits
100%.
and to ask you why you're doing something that way. And if it makes
Mhm.
sense, keep doing it. If it doesn't, at least it makes you stop and question it. If nothing else, you go and you learn something new, hopefully, or reinforce the things that you've already learned, because confirmation bias is delicious.
Plus, it looks good on the gram.
It's the
Yeah.
spice of life. Absolutely.
So I'd say that probably rounds. I would have liked to have pulled more quotes and things out of the book to read, but
It's a hard
I'm
one.
just reading you a technical manual. It's
Yeah,
like
I
yeah.
was to say it's a
it's
manual.
like how to fix a
It's
car.
Yeah, it's a fucking manual.
Yeah.
So
That's really
step
what it is.
1 in changing your oil is putting your car on jacks.
yeah.
And step 2 is arranging all of your tools in your oil pan. It does not make for great podcast content for reading.
But
Not
it
like
is a
some of the
good-
books we've done, but
Yeah.
it's got a lot of good information. And Kleckner is a little bit sarcastic, which I enjoy.
Yeah.
And there are definitely like some in military jokes in there. Because like you can tell the guy was a ranger because he talks like a ranger.
What is he always
like-
talking about? Leading the way.
All the
No,
way.
it was It was the 5 principles of patrolling was the thing where I was like, oh yeah, this guy was a ranger. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's right. Because you're not supposed to make ethnic minority jokes anymore, but they're still funny.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, no, definitely a good book.
It's a highly
for people
recommend.
of all levels, but definitely beginners. I
Yeah.
would
For a
say.
beginner, go grab that book and then come talk to me after you've read it, and then we'll talk.
Yeah. And yeah,
Certainly
we'll
worth it.
get Dave to earn his keep by running a class or two this year.
I'm fucking down. I'm down. Let's do
All
it.
right. Well, I guess we ought to go around. Did we decide on the book for next month? Is it going to be?
Have we? I don't know. Are we supposed
I
to
don't know.
announce it?
We should do it right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are
Okay.
you
Yeah.
thinking?
Well, let me just check Discord really fast because I know what book was leading in the poll earlier.
Oh, I guarantee you that one's still leading in the fucking polls.
Are we gonna get
Yeah,
after
all
it?
right. So we're getting
It's
after
only
it.
by one.
Yeah.
What section is this in? What section is
It's
this
on the
in?
Polls.
Discord. You'll have to go
Polls
to
and
Discord.
polls.
I'm not reading Discord to everyone. Go join the Discord server.
wow.
The link is in the
Yeah,
show notes.
I'm in the Discord. Where is there like a poll section or
Polls.
something?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
called polls, but this is making for terrible content. So next month's book is going to be Jocko Willnick's Extreme Ownership. And I think the month after that we might do Animal Farm because I want to do a fiction.
Yeah.
Well, mostly
that's it.
fiction
Done.
book.
Done.
Used to
No,
be
we call it.
fiction.
I'm in.
I would like you guys to look into the one that I suggested on this earlier today. It's a good book.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I started listening to it already. It's pretty
Which
interesting
book's that,
stuff.
Dave?
The Bomb, talking about just basically nuclear policy from governments from Truman all the way up to Trump, and I feel like
Yes.
now more than ever it's kind of pertinent.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw that.
So
and I was just like,
after the show, we're going
Yeah.
to figure out some books. But for
All right,
next month,
Extreme
I'm saying
Ownership.
Extreme Ownership.
And
For sure.
I'll even say Animal Farm after that, just to give us some more time, because that's a nice, easy one.
Yeah.
I like.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like we
And,
read
I mean,
a fair bit of like the classics. Like we've done Orwell a couple of times.
Well, no, we've
And-
done him once. Once. It just
Once,
feels like we're doing
1984.
it multiple times because we're living in an Orwellian future.
What was the
it's like every
right?
fucking
Fahrenheit
day.
451 was Bradbury. We did
Bradbury,
Bradbury
yeah.
and Orwell. That's right.
Yeah.
That's, like
But I
I'm sure
like
we've
it.
done more dystopian futurism than that. But no,
Yeah,
it turns out that we're
no.
just living in a dystopian current.
Yeah.
yes.
But I think we
I
should
get
do
it.
Animal Farm. I mean, it's been a while since we did thing. And then that would gives us time to get more books out.
Yeah.
And we haven't done like a fiction book like that in a while.
Works for me.
All right. So
Also,
March
yes,
is gonna be
Eric, the
Extreme
courses
Ownership.
will be through Ragnarok Tactical because we're the best teachers.
We're just also not maybe the most. I'm having a more than a little bit of difficulty getting ranges on board with running courses.
But a
That's-
long range
that's a me
one, we'll
problem.
figure it out. We'll sort it out. We will potentially use some private land to do a thing.
Mhm.
You may need to take the land nav class first in order to figure out how to get to the long range shooting class.
Hear that,
This is also
Caesar?
where the
Hear that?
rucking challenge will come in handy. But we'll get it sorted this year. We will run. We will run it. I will make sure it happens. I will
Gavin is
drive
committing
Andrew
to
get it
things.
done.
Committing to
Yeah.
things is the worst.
I will commit to it with
No.
you. No worries.
Committing to things is such a...
I'm pulling a Jocko. and
My
we're-
my
we're gonna-
contempt for the audience
make it
knows no bounds.
yeah, but not the
So,
ones that give you
I'm
money.
not gonna lie. I'm probably gonna come to that course anyways. So I'll commit to them
Alright,
putting
so
it
we're
on.
having a
and me having
CPP Ragnarok long range
Yeah,
Even if there's
potluck
even if it's with
barbecue.
even if there's Ori affiliation, like it'll still be under.
Yeah.
We can still put it under the Ragnarok brand, even if the Ori is kind of giving us the range, so to speak. We
we'll
can still
figure it
say,
out. We'll make
yeah.
it happen between us. We'll figure it out. Don't
Yeah.
worry. It'll happen.
But I don't like doing things. or
There may or may
people.
not be a camp out with drinking and barbecuing as well.
Okay.
and fire.
Well, then maybe I'll have to
Talk
show
a little
up.
bit dirtier to me. You can,
Uh,
Paints are optional.
I'll bring some Kleefeld shine. Sorry,
man.
we call it
Right,
Kleefeld
no.
beer.
All right. We can do with. God damn it. This is almost as bad as the time Gavin talked me into doing any of the charity shoots.
yeah, but they
Or-
were fun.
What,
They're
like
a lot
the
of
one-
work, but they're fun.
Where
No,
is
it's
the
kinda
charity
fun.
shoot this year?
I
think
don't
they're gonna
know, and I'm
finally
not
try to
doing
do
it.
in New Brunswick again.
Is
Good
it?
for
Because
them.
because the
That's
one like
great.
2 years ago. If I'm allowed to travel, I'll probably go just for the drinking and the shit talking.
Yeah, I might join you. I have family there too, so you can always make pit stops.
Well, let's wrap this up. So March, Extreme Ownership, April, Animal Farm. If you want to vote in the poll, go on Discord. Discord links to everything we've talked about is in the show notes. Show notes are on the website if you go to CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. The episodes are usually there. If it's in your RSS feed, it's probably close to being on the website if it's not there already. Unless I broke the RSS feed again, which has happened, and I've tried to fix it a couple of times. It's fine. It's fine. But usually the things we talk about are there, and that includes the Amazon affiliate link. So if you're buying books or other things on Amazon, you don't have to buy the thing in the links, but whatever you buy after you click on our link, I get a small piece of Jeff Bezos's penis rocket.
Just a tip.
So eventually I will get to have
semen.
That's a submarine, but eventually I will get my own penis rocket.
So if people
The
buy
penis
a lot
mightier.
of stuff with the affiliate link, do you get his big penis?
Just the tip.
Yeah. But
Okay.
Andrew will be able to get his own penis rocket sooner.
And we'll all own part of it, technically,
Yes.
sort of,
Yes.
in a weird way.
In a very communist sort of a fashion, yes.
Which is appropriate for a penis rocket. Yeah.
Don't worry, Pierre. We're gonna come up with good excuses for you. Don't worry, buddy.
Yes. So let's go around. Gavin, where can everybody find you long range shooting?
I guess the best place to find me to do long range shooting will be at the Ragnarok Tactic class we're going to organize for later in the year. But short
God
of
damn
that,
it, you're the worst.
I know.
I like your attitude, Gavin. I like your
Why you
attitude.
love me. Short of that, though, you can find me on the gram, Urbex GTA.
All right, Pierre, where can everybody get a long range shooting shirt?
Off the wall customizing. We're not on Facebook anymore. I don't think.
Did they
I don't know.
cancel you? Did you get canceled?
Fuck the Zuck.
No, I
Yeah.
think we did. I think we
Okay.
did. Just
Oh,
'cause
so
fuck them.
you Zuck
Yeah.
the Zuck.
You
Nice.
preemptively zucked the zuck.
Yeah. But we're on Instagram or off the wall customizing at Gmail. Whatever you need, we can figure it out.
All right. Dave, people want to shoot long range? You got suggestions?
Well, you can find me on the grams at Diesel6223. If you want to come shooting with the ORA, start emailing me around the end of March. I'll probably have a better idea about dates, or email me at oraprecision@gmail.com, and I can give you some more information hopefully then as far as range dates and whatnot, and coming to shoot with us. If we're on board in this year, I plan on having guests, so got lots of lanes to play with, so I can have lots of people.
Excellent. Peter?
Feels like my internet's going nuts, but yeah, we're I'm on the Discord mostly. For spend a lot of my time. I find me on there, Wild Turkey, or I'm on the other socials. Go on, hit me up on the Discord, or follow me at the Moran Life.
Good stuff. If you've listened to the show this long, you deserve a discount code when you're shopping at Ragnarok Tactical. Use Patriot at checkout. Save yourself some money. Literally, take food out of my child's mouth.
But use the affiliate link and give them the penis.
Yeah.
That's right. Give me a rocket penis. No, wait. That didn't sound...
In and around your mouth, no problem.
Just to
glad
be clear,
you didn't say
Dave is
child.
offering to... All right, just so we're all clear about that. I have to apologize. I did not ask.
Sound like you asked. I'm
There's
three
a
drinks,
long pause.
three doubles deep,
pause
and
is
it sounded like you
a
asked.
question.
Next, you're going to tell me it's because of how I was dressed.
Maybe it's a nice green shirt.
Yep, well, I may or may not be wearing multicam pants, too. I have to apologize to Rod. We couldn't get Rod Giltack on the show tonight. We were talking about long range shooting, and I'm not sure, there was some sort of miscommunication. We'll try and get Rod on next week. We'll talk about some news. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are a small fringe minority